Welcome back. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, (NNPCL), on Wednesday increased the pump price of petroleum products nationwide. The development came days after the government's declaration that it will put an end to the fuel subsidy regime. Fuel queues returned to Nigerian cities on Monday as many motorists scrambled to get petroleum products hours after President Bola Tinubu announced that the government would put an end to the fuel subsidy regime. Tinubu, on Monday, in his inaugural address at the Eagle Square, Abuja, declared that there would no longer be a petroleum subsidy as it was not sustainable. But the Nigerian Labour Congress has rejected the new pump price of petrol fixed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited. NLC President Comrade Joe Ajaro, who briefed journalists at the Labour House in Abuja on Wednesday, described the development as an ambush. Now, joining us here in the studio this morning is legal practitioner Evans Ufeli. Evans, good morning, and welcome to VOP this morning. I later would have Barrister Eze Iluche to join us as well on the program. We've seen the spiral, the ripple effect of this particular situation. Critics are aware of the thought that possibly when the president made that statement, it was not part of his inaugural speech. Possibly he just said it. But the announcement of the NNPC adjusting the pump price, making it official, one would say if that it was deliberate. The statement that was made that day was deliberate. The NLC president said that while negotiations were still ongoing with civil organizations as well as other stakeholders, NNPC came out to give that official statement to the adjustment on pump price. What do you say to that?
Well, I noticed that NNPC reacted to the reality on ground because subsidy is gone. Even though that text, that expression is not in the speech, but he made it as part of his speech. It need not be in the text. It's part of what was given out, so it's part of the speech. It's gone. Then the ripple effect was that the fueling stations all stopped selling, okay, because they wanted to readjust to that. Now, if you are going to readjust to the new price, the regulatory authority has to be involved because what the fueling station did was to seize sales. They were not selling like.
But the question is why? The product is available. The subsidy regime is still on for 2020 up until the end of June. So why did they make the product scarce?
Why didn't the president make the speech on the 1st of June in compliance with the 2023 budget? You see, the statement was not only reckless, it was not tactful. You understand? As a president of a country, you don't talk before you think. There was a kind of damage control they tried to do the next day, which wasn't going to work because already we know subsidy is not in the budget, in this year's budget. Okay? So, I mean, why make that pronouncement? If you are going to have a transition, you know Nigeria is a sensitive place. We just came out from fuel crisis before before we're dragged into the cash crunch. So the average Nigerian is overwhelmed. People are stretched. Okay? So you don't just become president today and with a speech, you just say fuel subsidy is gone. Gone to where exactly? If it were to be a country where you have social support system, where perhaps you have maybe functionable trains, you have functionable other alternative means of transport, and you have them reduce price and all that, the effect will not be this. But here you just announce it. Now, we are going to have scarcity in a lot of areas because food inflation, a lot of inflation will kick in and all that. So we are not the kind of country you make such pronouncement like that. We know that we are already approaching that era. It is fuel subsidy is gone. What are the alternatives? What are the alternatives you have in place? Have you built a refinery your first day in office, or what are the alternatives? So those issues were not addressed. And NLC, what NLC is doing is good because they cannot just fold their arms and then look at
all right,
the
so
situation.
It's one thing to say it's good. It's another thing to say if it's really going to make headway. Do you see them reversing it? Because NLC is saying, look, we will not let this go. We will not let this go without addressing it. bring up a cushioning effect, bring up measures that will cushion the effect of the removal, return to status quo. We're hearing all of that. He has called the NLC to sit down and talk. It was a deadlock. Yesterday. Now, do you foresee a situation whereby there will be a reversal?
They have two options. One is either to get palliatives for the citizens, okay,
For the poorest of the poor,
which is
or
not
the citizens.
which would no citizens. What is poorest for the poor?
You know, they came up with that poorest of the poor issue.
We don't know the poorest of the poor in Nigeria. We don't have the data. You know, the common man. We don't know who is the common man. Okay, so we've not had that clarity. So since we don't have the clarity, I mean, the citizens have to be taken care of, because that is the law. The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. I bought for 30,000 naira yesterday. My PA is here. It's not up to half my tank. 30,000 naira. So how am I going to keep up with running a law firm with staff here and there? So it's a big issue. It's not just for the poor. It's both for the rich.
Everybody.
Yes. So the citizens must be taken care of. That is why government should be tactful with policies. Okay. This is a no-no, and that is why NLC is saying, even people in government are grossly affected.
Now, the NMA president is saying that there is a need for other measures, which includes food price control, to give Nigerians a cushion from the harsh realities of the effects of the market-driven petrol pump price. Now, a situation where there was no conversation or consultation or due diligence done in having a conversation with those that determine the market sector, that is the price index of the market, especially for consumables. We do know that transport and food, these are the two main aspects, you know, for human survival in Nigeria. Why was that consultation or deliberation not made before that announcement?
That is the issue. The government presumed that since they had made a statement earlier on that from June 1st, we are not going to have it because it's not even budgeted for. The government presumed that the average person understand what the transition is going to be like. Because even look at the current law now on electricity. Electricity has been moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, but implementation have not started. Because implementation, you need a framework, you need a drive, you need consultation, you need to consult people and then see how you can transmit smoothly from generating at the federal level to state level. You have to do that. So in this case, you have a policy, you have an Appropriation Act 2023, which is the budget or which is the law. Now, you need a policy framework to make that transition so that you don't run into troubled waters like what we have today. Because if you want to even extend it by thought, by the stretch of imagination, the Appropriation Act 2023 cannot override Section 14, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution. Because Section 14 talk about the security and welfare of the people. And the Constitution overrides the Appropriation Act. So the fact that you don't have it in the budget does not mean you should not provide welfare and security for the citizens. It does not mean that. So the government may decide not to even, it may not be in the Appropriation Act, but you can bring that subsidy, because subsidy is the only thing that the average person enjoys in this country.
Now, yesterday there was a circulation whereby a statement from the president that the subsidy removal was not meant to start now. It's, of course, towards the ending of June. But some other analysts or critics have said that statement that was made by the press or by his media aide should have been done personally, like he announced it. You know, let him personally make that statement. Let Nigerians hear him communicate that, so that those where these adjustments have been made, possibly it can come back. But now that the NNPC has made an official statement yesterday, do we see a reversal?
NNPC has made an official statement. The federal government is NNPC, okay? I mean, it's a parastatal of the federal government. So if the federal government takes a decision for reversal, definitely there is an order. That will be done.
Do you think the NNPC was quick to announce?
Because there was closure. You don't, now, subsidy is gone. Nobody knows how much they should sell.
But the question now is, the marketers buying this product, are they not buying based on the subsidized rate, or are they buying...
No, there was a need to guide. There was a need to guide people, because
Because the marketers have bought already
Yes,
at the subsidized rate.
yes, they have bought on a subsidized rate, but now they said it is gone. So the problem now is that you have market forces and human nature. You understand? The economics of the markets, the people. I think it is quite very wrong for the marketers to have ceased selling fuel when they bought at a subsidized rate. It was wrong. And you don't blame them totally, you blame the government who did. You just, if a speechwriter had
Just
written,
drop the bomb.
if a speechwriter has written a speech, you have to go through it before you go on air. You don't just start to read, because that's what happened. Because there
You
should be.
think that was what happened?
Yeah,
Because
that's
from
what I
the
thought.
way he said it, it felt like it came off the cuff. Like he wasn't even looking on paper. He wasn't looking at the paper. He was talking and looking around, and he just said, "Fuel subsidy is gone." You know, he wasn't looking at the paper when he said it. So, for me, I feel it just came off the cuff. Like he's been thinking about it,
Whichever
and
way,
he just dropped it.
whichever way it came to us, see where we are. This is where we are.
Exactly.
It was not tactful. I mean, the president didn't do the right
I
thing.
was going to ask a question now. Now that we know that it was a wrong move for the marketers to start hoarding, knowing that they bought at a subsidized rate,
Yes.
shouldn't DPR have gone out there to make sure that look they picket those that don't sell?
We don't have the regulation. You see, this DPR, they are not effective. Their name have been changed to something else now, but DPR is what it used to be. But they are not effective because their duty is to ensure that there's compliance. Compliance, you bought this product at this rate. Why do you want to sell it far and above that rate? Okay. There was a phone station that sold 180 yesterday within the Keja vicinity.
180.
Yes, 180
That was
in the morning.
Very humane of them.
In the morning, now it got to 2 o'clock when the NNPC did that announcement. They stopped selling and they said they want to adjust the price.
Which one would understand?
And they did that to 490. You understand?
As against the 488.
Yes. So you see, this is because the president didn't handle the issue proper. This is not the right way to do it. It's a very sensitive issue.
Now, Barrister Evans, let me read out Joe Ajaro's statement. He says that the principle of negotiation, you don't put the partner, ask them to negotiate under gunpoint. The prayer of the NLC is that we go back to the status quo, negotiate, think of alternatives and all the effects and how to manage the effects this action is going to have on the people if it's an action that must take off. Now, what he said, one would say it's reasonable, it's logical, but between, if at all, right, the president and other market shareholders in this decide to have a meeting and think of an alternative, do we think that by the end of June they would have come up with something logically implementable?
They should. That is what government is about. In 2012, you know, we had this issue in 2012. If a president have a good sense of history, he will know what this thing is about. We had this. There were town hall meetings. That's after the protests. They reduced it to town hall meetings where Dr. Shomole, the former petroleum minister, Alison Madrekwe and others were all having discussions on the issue. First, they wanted to determine how many liters we consume per day and then benchmark it based on what is available. That same town hall meeting, this government can have it with NLC. Let people it's not just enough to increase. When you increase, remove subsidy, it's going to affect many other things. Okay, not just subsidy. You are looking at subsidy. You said you don't want the federal government to keep spending. It's making the rich richer and making the poor poor, whatever it is the economist is. You are not looking at the other vast
Ripple
areas,
effect of it.
so the ripple effect of it, where it's going to affect this and that. Instead of it to keep the citizens stranded, why don't you keep the subsidy so that they are able to patch up with other economic issues, need around them, okay? So it's not a good one at all. They need to start that meeting, and the federal government is even doing it the wrong way because at this time, you have to go back first before negotiation. You don't put people at gunpoint, and then you want them to now begin to negotiate from where you are backwards. That is not what you should be. We're looking at removing subsidies, so let's go back to where we were. Then we can negotiate from there upwards and see where it can be.
Now, talking about negotiating and looking at the words that came from NNPCL saying that this is the amount now, and then going forward, the price will fluctuate to reflect market forces.
Yes.
Do you see any reduction in the price of fuel going forward?
I think reduction will be based on what the marketers purchase. And
With the removal of subsidy,
of course,
in effect.
yes, it will be based on, I think that price is just a guide so that they don't become arbitrary. Yes, it's just a guide. So,
So is there a possibility of it coming back down to about 100 and something?
100, no, it can't, it can't. The landing cost is far more than 200. The landing cost is far more than 200. The solution to our problem is to begin to refine our product here. We need to build refinery. When the president said that subsidy is gone, I was looking at this man has built refinery just today. He was there. Yes, that is what came to my mind. Because if you don't need this. This is avoidable. You see, this problem is going to take us another 1 month before we wriggle out of this one and then face the next one. From a government that is not tactful. We must do the right thing in this country. And you see, we are supposed to be facing the National Assembly on the monies that the previous president had. Now we are forgetting that one. All those loans now, because they've thrown us into a bigger one. So before we pull out from this one, and that one would have been stalled. They should allow the citizens to, flourish. They allow the citizens to grow.
Now, it's expected that with this new administration, in order to generate revenue, there will be more tax imposition. That one is expected. Secondly, the Lagos State Management Traffic Authority have disclosed that there are individuals who are hoarding petrol in their compounds, some in polythene bags. It's that bad they had to buy the product in polythene bags to put in their vehicle. Now, one would say that it is not going to be unforeseen when we begin to hear of fire outbreaks due to these measures, because people want to have the product when they need it. But let's look at the effect whereby we keep on having individuals having to just buy the product in very little quantity based on what they can afford. Then the salary structure scale. Showore made a statement when this announcement was made. He said the minimum wage is 30,000 naira for now officially, which some state governors have not even implemented up till now. Now, despite now that the price of petrol, has increased, with salaries increased to 250,000, bearing in mind that the federal government has not paid its civil servants and the military. They complained yesterday.
That is the problem. That's not just the only problem. You are talking about salary and welfare economics. How about crime? How about the policemen on the road, who will now start to harass people, Then you have high rate of kidnapping and all that. Of course, the worker's salary must be adjusted to meet the reality of the time, This 30,000 naira minimum wage is a no-no. It can't work, Okay, look at the focus now on fuel subsidy. You are taking it up. The lifestyle and the cost of living has gone up. The minimum wage cannot even do anything to that effect. So there's supposed to be an increase. Government is supposed to look for a way to create alternative for the citizens. The salary of workers must be increased. That should be part of the agreement or
in as much as we know that increase doesn't really take any effect, because as it increases, the seller of Gary in the market increases theirs, the vulcanizer increases theirs, every other thing goes up. So the salary increase now looks meager at the end of the day. So that doesn't even seem to solve any problem.
The same thing also happens when you remove subsidy like this. A lot of things will skyrocket. And then people will tell you that the price of fuel has increased. Look at the exchange rate now. We're not talking about that. In the past 5 days, the exchange rate has gone up. It's close to about, not the official now, the black market is close to about 770 or thereabout. So how are we going to navigate through this whole economy?
Well, the controversial petrol subsidy cost Nigeria 4.6 trillion naira from January to June this year. And of course, it was on track to go up over 7 trillion naira
Yes.
by December if it continued.
Yes.
Now, the president says that the savings from these subsidies, now that it's been removed, will be channeled towards infrastructure,
They should not be-
education,
no.
and health. We just heard it. But however, the same promise has been made over time
Okay.
by previous administrations, and we don't actually see that. So if we look at the situation from why every past administration, both military and civilian, accompanying their frequency increases in petrol prices, how are we certain that this subsidy removal will actually affect the change that the president said it's going to?
They will not channel it to anywhere. They should keep spending those trillion on subsidy, as long as they have refused to make our refineries to work.
But the subsidies are basically benefiting the elite. It is the elite who owns the markets. It is those who are in government who owns this market.
It benefits the elite. Let it benefit them. It is better because it also benefits the poor. The poor will be buying it at 100 plus, not 500 and 600. It's a big issue. Let the elite keep, because as long as they have refused to make the refineries work, that subsidy, they should continue to pay it. That should be NLC's position. They should continue to pay it, pending when they fix the refinery, and then it will go away naturally.
Shouldn't there have been a national emergency for self-sufficiency, for achieving self-sufficiency?
That is what an economy should look like. You understand? Your crude is our highest export. It's our highest export. It's our advantage. So why is it that we cannot have a refinery that will refine it? Why? If we don't have that, we don't have an economy. There's nothing you can do. You don't have an economy. You look
There's
at
a huge reliance on Dangote refinery, which is meant to commence its production of crude, I think in July. 650,000 barrels of crude. That's basically what is the stipulated product that is to come out there. Do we think that this is what the present administration is hinging on?
Dangote refinery is not enough. I know that's going to give us enough, but it does not take the place of government maintaining our own refineries. We need as many refineries as possible. Who even told us? Who even told us that Dangote is setting up a refinery just for Nigeria? He's a private business person. So we just conclude that the refinery is for us. It's for anybody that wants to buy.
Now let's look at
it may not as well come to us.
Okay, so let's look
to those who have money to buy.
Let's look at companies that have made profits. And if we look at the base for the past 3 days, if we check the stock markets,
yes,
there have been companies that have benefited hugely from this situation. ENI, I think, Corn Oil, and one other company as well. Those who actually have shares in these stocks, it has marginally increased. But one would say again, it is only the elite that has benefited from this. Where does this place the average or common man?
You see, that is why we're talking sometime last week on radio. I would say the common man need to grow up to, okay, at some point. Because this whole economy is not about the common man, it's about the citizens. So, apologies to the common man. I'm also a common man. We have to grow up. You understand? To get to a point where at least, whatever it is, we should also strategize to find advantage around the system. And what NS is doing is part of it. Negotiating on behalf of the citizens, who presumably are the common men. The elite will always have an edge, whichever way you look at it. Whether it's the price is 180, whether the price is 100 naira. It's not the common man that own, they are not the marketers. So whichever way we look at it, the elite will still be at advantage, okay? But what we're saying is that the average Nigerian, the larger populace, should not be thrown into this kind of quagmire, okay? Because you don't have economic equality in every society. Some persons must be ahead of others. Some people are ahead of others based on family lineage, genealogy, advantage their forefathers have had. Some persons are low because they don't have such kind of advantage. So the variables are much. That's not the discourse for today. The discourse is that the larger populace should feel the presence of governance. The larger populace should not be thrown into this kind of emergency where they are not prepared for it. Okay, the same federal government told us that the average Nigerian does not have 500,000 naira in the bank account. Okay, if you are aware of that, then you are also aware that 133 million of Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty. You are aware of that. That's before you took off the subsidy. Okay, now you are taking off the subsidy in that condition. Okay, so what you are doing is that you are not just creating an emergency. Okay, you are bringing the people to a dead end, and that is wrong. That's why I say they should keep paying that subsidy, that 14 trillion, 4 trillion. They should keep, because when they say they will channel it to education, you will see CRSU on strike. You will not see anything different. The Jonathan government did it. They said they want to channel it, or that is, I will not see anything channel it to. They brought buses as palliative measures. Those buses ran for 2-3 weeks. We didn't see those buses again today. Okay? So the best way is to ensure that you keep paying that subsidy. I am a very strong advocate of subsidy. They should keep paying it as punishment until they build the refineries. That's the only way out. They cannot be telling us this kind of story.
We recall that during the former administration, towards the tail end, we had about $800 million being given to the federal government from, I think, the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank in order to help, us absorb the shock of the fuel subsidy removal. What then? Why is that not being implemented? What is going on with that? We've not heard anything about that.
I don't even know the status of that now, whether the money has been signed and released, and who are these people, who are the poorest of the poor. That question always, because the truth is that we don't know these people, who are they and where are they. We don't have their data. We don't know anything about them. So at the end of the day, what you find is that civil servants who work in this ministry will begin to put names of their brothers, uncles. Before you know it, you have a long list, a long endless list. You will not get to those who are targeted. That is why, if you have not counted your citizens from 2006 to date, you cannot tell me you are collecting one money to plan for them. It's not possible. Who are you planning for? Where are they? Because during population census, when they count, they take in cognizance of your economic status, where you work and all that, what average of what you earn, all those things, they collate it and they use it, and then they have a guide as to how many possibly we are, and then how many persons out of the population that have that situation. Then how would they trace those persons? They're able to trace it. In economies where people are documented, it's not difficult. They know these people and they have their details. So it's a question of tracking those details and then making those transfers to them. But here, you can't do that because we don't have the details.
Even making the transfers, does it make sense to say, okay, we are sending you this money, just use the money to do whatever you want to do?
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because what you are asking them to consume the money, and the next day they will come on the street again to say that they are common men. They have no money again. So what you are supposed to do is to create social support system. Everything is not money. We think throwing money to problem is the solution. No, social support system. If we have a credit and a credit economy, just like the president mentioned in his speech, if they are going to implement that, you have a credit economy. If I want to buy this wristwatch, I shouldn't have the 100%. I shouldn't have the entire money to buy it. How much am I earning? If I take 5% of my salary, I can put it down, they'll give it to me. Okay? Then I can also pay gradually.
By installments.
Okay, yeah, that's how, if you create that, you create equality. Let there be equality. Then let merit, those who are more deserving, okay, should be in strategic position, okay? But when you're having inequalities, you don't have social support system, you don't have everything. The only thing you have is just minimum wage, and you hand it over. And that minimum wage cannot subsidy because every other thing you have to get to live a decent life, you have to pay 100%. How are you going to make it? It's not possible. So that is why a lot of persons are on the fast track now. They live that easy, slow, and steady life to get it gradually. They move out from there and enter the fast track, begin to kidnap people, begin to do internet fraud, and all that. That is why a lot of people are in that net. Okay, the society is not structured in a way that people, if they have, travel, you'll be buying things with coins, okay? Because the economy is stable. It's stable and people all the facilities are there. Here, there are no facilities, okay? those who are taking public transport, I heard that from here to the islands about 3,000 naira this morning. So, so you do that back again. So, I mean, how much are they earning that island where they're working? This thing is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. This thing is going to lead to a breakdown of law and order.
Okay, so
Already we've had a pipeline leakage somewhere in Lagos. Trying to get the information out. There's been a leakage in Lagos. Well, don't you see that as people, taking advantage to, break the pipelines and get the fuel out of it?
There will be vandalism, definitely. Because now people are pushed to the wall. There will be people will be vandalism. And I just pray that those who move full are not stopped on the road. And then people will start. I just pray we don't get to that level, because when you push economic issues without tact, you create anarchy. People have to survive. And in order for them to survive, you are not making it easy for them to survive. They will take the laws into their hand. It's a natural cause. That is the way, that's human nature. Okay? They will take the laws into their hands before they think of the legal implication.
So are you saying that if care is not taken, there might be a complete breakdown of law and order?
We have met all the conditions for that kind of disintegration. So the NLC is doing the right thing now. And if the federal government understands what it takes to manage a society, they should forget about the fact that you budgeted. Everything is not budget. There's a reality, okay? Even if you look at the laws, okay, sometimes there's what they call something necessity, okay? You can go into that closure where you have to adopt that necessity, set aside whatever it is you have as law, and then look at even the laws who support you need to pay subsidy. That one will not be negotiated. The NLC should ask them to pay subsidy, depending when they fix the refinery. That is the way out.
Well, some scholars are also saying the payment of subsidy is not sustainable, because Nigeria will just continue to dish out money, and the fortunate ones will continue to take the product with the subsidy paid by Nigeria, and then sell to countries outside.
They should intercept those people. They should pay subsidy and intercept those criminals. Yes, that's the way. Is this one sustainable? This one we're doing now, from yesterday to today, is it sustainable? It's not sustainable. Go and ask those taking public transport. It's not sustainable. So sometimes we need to come now, get on the street and see how it's going on the street. I saw a lot of journalists on the street doing vox pop this morning. I know it's on the issue. I know.
We've been doing vox pop for the past 3 days.
Yes, 3 days. Yeah, because the way you can gauge this is to go down. Yes, that's the best way to get it. And you will see it's not sustainable from the response of people.
Some economic analysts have said that in order to expedite the release of the $800 million, to cushion the effect, possibly that was why the early announcement was on. Remember that I think Zainab Ahmed at the time said this money will be released in tranches. Is it possible that this is basically what is the plan? Whereby this announcement is made already, pump prices increase, is already affecting the market. Inflation, of course, definitely is on a spike now, and then this forces the hand to release the money.
I don't think there's any plan between the outgoing and the incoming government. I don't think there's any, apart from the handover committee that's set up. It was not in the news that there was any plan between on this issue.
They don't have to say these things. So when some
I know, I understand the question. You understand? You are asking whether there's I doubt, because this is actually unscripted. It's unscripted. It's trial and error. You understand? Just talk before you think. That's what is happening.
But with NNPC announcing yesterday, it made it confirmed that it wasn't a mistake. It was deliberately said.
Well, NNPC had to step in because there was a gap. People were not selling because they were looking up to government. What's the way forward? NNPC had to step in. They had to give the people a guide, the marketers a guide. Otherwise, maybe some will be selling 1,000 naira. There will be lawlessness. petrol is regulated. There is regulation on it. It's diesel that you don't have subsidy, and we know how that is playing out. But if you are going to transit, you look at what happened when we moved from subsidizing kerosene to, when was the last time you saw kerosene?
It's been very long.
They should be paying subsidy. That's the only one you will see the product. They should pay it. That's what I'm saying. If you don't pay subsidy, the situation on ground will outstrip the citizens. People will start to walk on the road and take off their clothes. I'm just telling you, this is madness. We have to walk. We have to stem the tide. We have to do something about this situation. You understand? And this one, the NLC will call for me, the federal government, and the NLC will get there. The federal government is not there.
In fact, as at last night, after the deadlock, they said that the negotiation is still ongoing, but there is no stipulated date yet for the next convergence that they will meet to talk.
There's no stipulated date. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, there are issues here. There are issues here because you don't want to find yourself in situations where people will be harassing you on the road. Okay, maybe we have have devised strategy to downgrade for security reasons. Security issues is going to be very tough right now. Okay, so the federal government need to do something. I mean, the reason they were voted into power is to ensure that the citizens have a better life. Okay, we just transited to a new government. We're expecting a better life, but what they have now does not in any way point to that direction. So we must call for negotiation. It's very important. Subsidy is what you keep paying when you refuse to fix it finally. That's what it is. So, I mean, we should do that.
Now, unfortunately, we are already beginning to see spikes in market prices. Let's talk about consumables. Food, for example, rice, beans, gari, these are staple foods that Nigerians rely on.
Yeah.
And if this eventually happens, considering how the economy is already, because there's already a projection with what is already on ground, what are we expecting from now forward?
You are going to buy rice at a very costly price, okay? By the time you start to buy rice, they buy 100,000 naira. That is when you will now understand the dynamics of this, that subsidy is covering a lot of sins. Just like the blood of Jesus, was meant for the remission of sins, so that mankind can have respite. That's what subsidy is. Subsidy is critical. It's
How the refineries are built.
Yes, they should keep paying it. It does not matter who is gaining or losing, whether the elite. So long as the man on the street is able to patch up with it, that is the way to go. But when you now take it off that the man on the street is not, we should not get to that situation where you are not taking us back to the days of yore, where people will begin to live some British life. People will just walk into the bush and start to make some noise. Let's allow the citizens to have their sanity, okay? Because you don't have public health care in the first place, okay? You don't have public health care. So why do you keep creating situations that will make people to have mental health issues when you don't have facilities to address it? So let's do something about this. This is very serious.
Okay, so let's bring things down to a scenario whereby we have the Nigerian Medical Association recently said they're in support of the fuel subsidy removal. And then the problem now is the fact that if subsidy is removed, their sector, that is the medical sector, they're not complemented with salary increment, being the fact that they're already being owed by the federal government on the COVID-19 situation, and of course pension, and a couple of arrears that they're asking the federal government to pay up. They're saying that the emergence of this announcement, the emergence of the spike, is not helping any sector at all. But that if the government is meant to start off with Medicaid, that is medical care, from now on, where they have not had any conversation with the government as to in terms of subsidizing healthcare. Do we see that happening in the next few days? Because right now it is expected that the president is having a conversation with his team, even if officially he has not announced them.
Yes, they are discussing. They have to. That's why they were elected to do that. Okay. Definitely, they will need to either go back to the status quo or begin to subsidize the medical care and other areas. They need to subsidize Gary and all these things. Go and look for the farmers who produce it and give them money so that they can sell it cheap. Because the truth is that we are running away from government is running away from responsibilities, and at the same time, it is increasing the burden of the people the other way around. Okay, so don't look at it. The government look at it unidirectional. They don't look at it multi-directional. They just say, okay, if we take it, we support it. It's not enough. It's important. The medicals, you know, not just medicals, other areas. Okay, we also begin to look for a way to have to put pressure on the government. To you're even owing them. They hear me owing them salaries for a long time. You have not paid. Now they have to go and buy fuel at a very exorbitant rate to power whatever it is they use. They have to spend more to get drugs and all that. They have to spend more to take care of their logistics. So whichever way you look at it, there is no way this decision will not cost the government more than what they are paying under the subsidy regime.
Let's look at the moribund refineries. An economic analyst is saying that the public refineries run by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is meant to achieve domestic self-sufficiency. Retaining them in the state hands is foolhardy. But if we come to look at a situation where, just like the Dangote refinery, the market is open, where there is competition. Competition, they say, can yield lower costs and prices for goods and services, improve quality, also improve economic growth and development, including sufficiency. Do we see that as one of the major plans of this particular administration in order to cushion this effect? Because when you don't have the transparency in the private sector with the refineries already moribund, if you're not going to do something about it, what about open the market for others, just like Dangote refinery did, whereby others can invest in starting off refineries? If the product is homegrown, we can actually have access to it. Possibly we wouldn't have the spike in petrol prices. Do we see that happening in this administration?
That has been done already. It's not really Dangote that have the license. A lot of individuals have the license. In fact, I have a client that have the license. But to set up the refinery, you need investors. You need people to put funds together. Even Dangote refinery was not built by, he didn't use his money. There are a lot of investors in that play. Okay, so but you talk about competition under the Dangote. I'm not seeing the competition yet until other ones, you know, spring up. We begin to have other people investing in that same area. That is when you can now compete, because the federal government keep talking about market forces, market forces. When the condition on ground does not, you don't have refinery. You're talking about market. Which market force? You don't have refinery. You are importing this thing. You are talking about market forces. Which market force are you talking about? The licenses have been issued to people who deserve, who merit it, and who have it, but they need to come up with these refineries. Okay. So what the government is supposed to do is to keep the subsidy running until you have all these companies. Then you can take it off and let the market fall on. Let the market now fall on the product, on the companies. So the companies will now begin to receive the demands from the people directly. But here, the refineries just have one that have not been just commissioned. It's not functioning yet, it's not ready. Then you are taking on subsidy. So when you take on subsidy now, we'll keep buying it for that 500 and 600. When the refinery gets ready, okay, will the refinery sell it at 200? Because you know in this country, whatever, okay, look at rice. When they say the foreign rice, they ban the foreign rice so that we can focus on the local rice. Now the local rice is even costlier than the one we were purchasing before. So we have a very funny situation in our hands.
All right,
and the federal government should go back and keep paying subsidy.
Thank you, Barrister Evans Ifemi. Thank you. All right, the Presidential Tribunal admits documents alleging that President Tinubu had been indicted for illicit drug offenses. Let's talk about that in a moment. We'll take a short break.